So I just saw Coco, and it's fine. Scorching hot takes, fresh out of the oven over here. Now I understand it's not exactly a revolutionary opinion, but I do have something to say about this movie. Ultimately, I didn't find it to be the masterpiece that a lot of other people are touting it as. Now before I begin, let me say that while I was irritated by the abysmal Frozen, quote, short, unquote, that played before Coco, my current analysis is with that struck from the record. Everything I'll be talking about will be in reference to Coco as a standalone movie on its own merits. If I were to rate that Frozen short, I'd probably give it a 3 out of 10. Anyway, I hated most of the first act of Coco. Was it my own fault? Yes. I couldn't suspend my disbelief with how some of the characters were. I liked Miguel, and I thought he was a good protagonist. He seemed like a real kid with real kid hopes and dreams, and he's not a dumb idiot that made me angry, so well done there. I did, however, hate the rest of his family. Especially the grandmother, whose name I couldn't bother to remember. In fact, I forgot most of the names of the family members because I thought they were all awful people. Now, I'm gonna get a bit spoilery here, so if you haven't seen Coco, go see it and come back. You've been warned. 3, 2, 1. I couldn't get over the strange, almost draconian hatred of music the family had. It seemed completely ridiculous to me. In the movie, Miguel's great-great-grandfather left his family to become a musician, and the rest of the family hated him for doing so, and they didn't want anyone else in the family to make the same mistakes, so they banned music entirely. That, to me, is insane. Usually, in movies with a generational conflict, I tend to side with the parent or authority characters, 1, because I'm lame, and 2, because oftentimes they're right. Also, while sometimes being overbearing, the best interest of the kid is usually at the forefront of their mind. The kids, on the other hand, usually are just, I want to be extreme and mom doesn't understand. In Coco, I was 100% with Miguel. Unlike a lot of kid protagonists, he's got a lot of good points. And even though he ultimately ends up being incorrect, his logic wasn't hopelessly flawed like his family's was. There's a scene where the horrible grandmother character smashes Miguel's guitar. Even though I appreciate the necessity of the scene in order to get Miguel to run away, I found that it made the grandmother irredeemable. I was actively rooting for her to receive some form of comeuppance for this, which never happens. Luckily, though, the movie picks up quite a bit once Miguel reaches the land of the dead. The visuals pop out more, they're more interesting, the characters are much more likable, even the family characters. Their overbearing nature was more understandable, and with the amount of time spent in that area, more fleshed out. I think if the movie had spent more time developing the living family members' characters just as much, to be more than just, I hate music, I probably wouldn't have been so vitriolic towards them. The movie also suffers from a third-act villain surprise reveal. It reminded me a lot of Frozen, horrible short notwithstanding. In Frozen, there was a surprise villain reveal, and it was just as lame in that movie. It was a conflict that didn't require an antagonist, and with Coco, it's just as unnecessary. I like the idea of Miguel working hard to meet his idol, finding him to be a fraud, but to also have him be a murderer was an eye-roller for me. The final death element bugged me quite a bit, too. It seemed like a stretch just for some extra conflict. I mean, hey, where's the tension if the dead people can't, die again? I mean, whatever, it's minor, but the logic of it made no sense to me. The movie says that if Coco forgets Hector, he final dies, right? Well, why does it have to be happy memories only? Coco's daughter and the rest of the family hates Hector for leaving, right? So they know his story. Does that not count as remembering him? Also, what do the photographs matter? Were no skeletons allowed to cross over to the land of the living before the invention of the photograph? Now, these all sound like little nitpicks, and you're absolutely right, they are. But there were some things about this movie I liked. I thought the music was great, I liked Miguel and Hector's relationship, I liked the visuals of the land of the dead, as I previously said, and I think it was cool that the characters in this film legitimately drank tequila. But what about that sad part that made a lot of people sad, because we all love being sad, and having one emotional moment that's well executed makes a great movie, right? Look, is the message at the end of this movie good? Yes. Was the moment with Miguel singing to Coco really nice, if obvious? Again, yes. Did it make up for all of the nitpicks and flaws? No. Listen, I appreciated that moment at the end of the film as much as the next guy, and I like how everything was resolved, but at the end of the day, Coco did a poor job setting up its conflict, and its villain reveal was awful. I'm sorry, if you poison somebody and then you make a movie where the exact same thing happens involving you and including the exact words you said before you poisoned someone, you're an idiot. This movie did not need a psychotic, attempted child murderer bad guy to beat up in the third act, and I don't think I'd go out of my way to see this movie again. It was fine, but not a find that I would pay money for again. I give Coco a 7 out of 10. So I'm sure that's going to piss off a fair number of you, but I don't really care. I stand by what I said. I've thought about it quite a bit, and for every good thing that I think of when I think of Coco, I remember another nitpick that took me out of the film. And don't give me that it's a children's film so none of it matters. It's disingenuous to intelligent kids that don't need to be force-fed a black and white storyline. Anyway, that's all I got, so I love you, fuck you, bye.